I'm so happy to invite Ms. Radhika Menon for this session. Ms. Radhika also represents one of our partners for today, YuWaah, which is the Indian chapter for UNICEF. She is the lead for Skills for Life and Livelihoods at YuWaah India under UNICEF. Radhika has been working in the education and skill development sector for more than 9 years. Her experience includes work at the grassroots level in rural India, to strategy and policy with the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. Welcome, Radhika. Stage is all yours. You can now start with the session.
Great. Thanks, Maya. Am I audible? So
yes.
I have a
absolutely.
question for any technical session. It's actually a great segue from Anansh's session where he was talking about becoming the best version of himself. And I think one of the key tips was on focusing on 21st century skills. So the initial proposition was on like importance of 21st century skills for education system. But I don't think youngsters want to know how education system can help them when they're also in the process of building their own skills. So really going to be speaking to you on why 21st century skills is relevant for you, and also then talking about a few skills that you can start your journey on, as well as one essential skill that is going to be essential for your future readiness. So one moment, and I'm going to share my screen. Great. So I think this should be visible to everyone. Okay, fantastic. So starting with the question on what exactly are 21st century skills, they go by a lot of names. The most popular one is, of course, soft skills, which has lasted over centuries. But then also talking about like they're known as transversal skills or social emotional skills, cognitive skills, life skills. And then 21st century skills is essentially a superset that covers all of these skills in some form, in some practical definition. Essentially, 21st century skills are that set of knowledge, capabilities, and attitudes that can help you as the young person transform in this fast-changing world of opportunities and really create success for yourself. So these are domain or agnostic cross-sectoral skills that are necessary to thrive in the 21st century. These are not new skills, they're just newly relevant skills. And just wanting to bring a snapshot on what we mean by communication, what we mean by 21st century skills. So there is, of course, the 4Cs, which is being focused on across frameworks, across industry, and is heavily emphasized on their influence for your employability. But then there's also the newly relevant ICT and digital skills, especially given the transformational and exponential change in technology itself. Financial literacy, which has also come as a strong ask from young people that it's missing from the education system, but is especially relevant because not all of us graduate with knowing how do we file taxes, for example. The ever important taking initiative it's a skill, it's an ability, it is an attitude, call it as you may. We do think it is a very important 21st century skills, whether you want to go into entrepreneurship or whether you just want to build that entrepreneurial mindset. And of course, the self-awareness and resilience skills, which is very strongly connected to emotional well-being and just functioning in the 21st century, given the dynamic changes that surround us. This is just a snapshot of the skills. There are over 40 skills across 65 frameworks. So the 21st century skills bucket is really broad. But why is 21st century skills relevant to you? For those who are carrying on from Anansh's session, I think he delved into two cases on how it will help you become better on your get better with yourself, but then also like building on public speaking skills. So essentially, why is it relevant for you is to get future ready. It is because in the future, for your jobs, for actually just thriving in the 21st century, you're going to need both a broad and a specialized knowledge set, which will include your disciplinary knowledge, the so-called technical skills, but then also the capacity and ability to think beyond those boundaries and really connect the dots. But that is on the why is it relevant from an employability or future readiness perspective, but also think about the aftermath of COVID or even the ongoing third wave, where emotional well-being and mental health has gained a lot of prominence. It is great that we are talking about it, we are emphasizing on it, and 21st century skills strongly also link up to how you can become more resilient in this ever-changing dynamic world. So just as an activity to think on, just before we go to the activity, These skills are being built whether you know it or not. Going back to when you played Ludo as a kid, or maybe at the start of the pandemic, there were strategies that you adopted to win at the game. There was collaboration, or there was negotiation. Collaboration to like cut the third member, or maybe a negotiation that please don't knock me out. That was your negotiation skill. That was your problem solving skill that was being developed. That is to say that these soft skills are being developed, but without naming them, it is hard for you to address where is the gap area. So a short activity on beginning in 2020, what is it that you learned? Just taking a moment to reflect on it. Maybe you picked up a technical skill, understanding that school closures and academic institution closures stopped your formal learning, did not stop you from going and taking the benefits of all the amount of free content that is available online. Maybe you picked up a musical instrument. I know I did, or at least I tried to. You baked a banana bread, got onto that trend where everyone was baking. Or maybe like went with the TikTok and Taka that eventually came about. Picked up a choreography, maybe dancing is your thing. Or the ever versatile becoming a master chef and helping out at home. Or the other one of just like picking up mastering jharu pocha. The idea is in picking up that skill, there were also other skills that you did work on. Skills, quoting from the example of Ludo, there were skills that you were building apart from just winning at the game. In becoming a master chef, maybe you applied a little creativity with the ingredients. In honing a technical skill, maybe you were deciding, you were applying a decision making in choosing what skill is most relevant for you given your career path, but also your interest areas. In baking a banana bread, was any collaboration required? So I would like you to just keep in mind what is it that you did learn in this past 1.5, 2 years. But then also when thinking of that skill that you picked up, what are the other skills? What are these 21st century skills that you did pick up? And just to aid you, because naming these skills is a bit of a gap area, looking at this the YuWaah's 21st century skills framework, looking at if any of these skills were developed. I would invite you to share it on the chat, because I think when you express it, I think you also get a lot more confident in saying that, yes, this did get built. So just taking a quick pause, if anyone would like to share, I would be very curious to read. That's great, Edrina. I learned digital marketing. Great, Chinmay. Giving any certificate for attending this webinar is not a question I can take, but the stock market, that's great. So these are the technical skills you picked up. When you learned about the stock market, I'm assuming you were learning about how to go about investing. Were there any of these 21st century skills that you picked up, Akshat? Is something I would pose to you. And it's if it's too new a segment, this is something we can do later as well. But this is just something for you to reflect on, that when you learned something in the last 1 odd year, what were the other skills that you were also practicing, knowingly, intentionally, or unintentionally, they were getting built? Self-awareness, that's great. Wow, someone picked up hairstyling. Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. So the idea is, apologies, I seem to be having some technical issue. Yeah, great. So the idea of this was to say that if you name the skill, you know what you want to build it. And this was just an orientation on how are some of the skills. The YuWaah's framework covers 30 skills, but like I said, there are 40 plus skills being defined across 65 national and international framework. As a starting point to see what are the skills that we classify as 21st century skills, I think a great resource is by our partners at the Life Skills Collaborative. It's an institution of several implementation organizations working in life skills, and they've come up with a very informative glossary for young people as well to use to understand what do we mean by, for example, metacognition, or what do we mean by adaptability or self-regulation on your own time. But as goes with any learning journey, the question is, where do you want to begin? I have shortlisted a couple of skills that could be the starting point for you to really hone your 21st century skills, basis its recurring prominence across frameworks, but then also its strong linkages to employability, to being domain or agnostic, and to be cross-cutting across sectors. So communication and collaboration, I think, are very straightforward, but with the slight tweak that communication is not just about expressing and responding, but then also listening. And that's the key to effective communication, has been delved deeply by Anand. So I'm not going to repeat what he has covered. On collaboration, of course, we have all gone through those projects which were massively successful. We were enthusiastic participants, but then there were also those group projects that we did, which, despite our best efforts, did not come to fruition. I think it's a good point to reflect on how did collaboration work differently in these two settings to really identify what do we mean by collaboration. Critical thinking is that, and with a strong overlap with problem solving and decision making, critical thinking is that ability to understand and to use evidence while also collecting it and synthesizing it. It's the ability to reflect on your own thinking, identify the biases, and then really, well, think about your thinking in a way. And of course, creativity, which is cross-cutting. It is the ability to find your innovative solutions. It is the first step, in my opinion, to actually getting to design thinking skills. All of these are, the four C's are heavily emphasized on, but there's one big skill which I personally believe is of great importance, which is metacognition. It's basically the ability or learning to think about thinking itself. It'll help you know your method of learning, your method of processing information, and therefore identifying the best strategies to actually continue on your lifelong learning. So really getting to that space of learning to learn. The idea of bringing these skills is just to get you started on your learning journey. If you want to pick up courses, if you want to pick up skills, these are some areas you can start with. In taking charge of your own learning, a key limit to getting started with learning to learn is recognizing that there is a limit to one's knowledge or ability, not having any embarrassment about it. Not all of us don't know about everything. So just knowing the limit, but then also figuring out where we want to expand that knowledge and also how to expand that knowledge. And that is where this learning mindset comes into play. When a skill when you build the learning to learn muscle is when you can build that learning mindset. And when we say about learning mindset, you would have heard about a growth mindset, you would have heard about lifelong learning. It all boils down to how do you build that learning to learn skill. And so I've just identified 4 strategies that have helped me, and also backed by a lot of research I was doing on how to make the most of the session with young people. So the main one is identifying your learning skills, your learning style, your learning style and your strategies. So reflecting on your learning process. So seeing what is it that works for you and what is it that doesn't work for you. Reflecting back on your academic journey is a great starting place, because there you would have seen what worked for you, whether in subjects or whether in spaces, like whether it's academics or sports or extracurriculars, but then also then assessing your strengths and weaknesses. And that would define your needs of learning as well. You might be the kind who likes a little more structure in your learning, or you might be the kind who wants a little more unstructured, play-based learning, where you get to explore and lead your own way. So defining your needs on how much scaffolding you really need to build a skill or to learn will help you really identify what is your learning style and get you started on this learning mindset. A very, and this is faced by all of us, it's it's because humans, like, as human beings, we do like routine, we do like stability. There is that inherent bias against doing new things, and therefore overcoming that inertia would be your starting point to starting to learn. So start small, start with a hobby or a passion project that you have been deferring. We all have that. So just starting with it will at least will help you overcome that inertia. Do not go into thinking about whether you'll be good at it. Focus on process over mastery. So focus on the process of learning. Forget about whether you're going to be good at it. Forget about mastering it at the start. We all have to start somewhere. Similarly, scanning the horizon for growth opportunities. So knowing what is happening in the realm of world of work, but then also in the larger socio-economic setting. So staying abreast with like what is changing in both like education, in the world of work, in the economy, in society. This will just help you identify potential areas for growth. And if this is a particularly difficult area, just follow your curiosity. We're all curious by nature. Start with, even if it does not apply to your academics or to your job, start with what you're curious about and then grow from there. And then that can really help you expand your knowledge base and identify potential opportunities. And lastly, really push yourself to acquiring your, like to really building and building on your potential and radically different capabilities. So here the focus is on building habits and not relying on passion, because passion will, it does falter. The discipline is what will help you get to actually building these capabilities and expanding your potential. And as with any skill, the skill too requires time, patience, persistence, and practice. So do not expect change overnight. I would recommend reading Atomic Habits. You would rather do the 0.1% change and it adds up, rather than have no change or do nothing about it. So I did not want to come to you just with suggestions on what 21st century skills is and what you could do to start learning, but then also 2 opportunities of learning that we have curated. Sorry, just a quick time check. How are we doing?
Yeah, we've overrun for a little bit, but maybe like a couple of minutes is fine.
Quickly.
Yeah,
Sounds good. Thanks, Maya. So just quickly then, so we have developed a very fun, interactive chatbot-based learning tool where you can pick up, or you can at least get initiated to skills like self-awareness, communication, problem solving, and also like start working on skills like job readiness, or start working on resume building, on reaching out for jobs and navigating that entire job exploration stage. It's available on WhatsApp. You can save our number. This is a UNICEF You Report chatbot that we're also leveraging to offer you life skills, these essential 21st century skills. And we're starting small with 4 skills and 20 tasks, but we'll be expanding it to more than 100 to stay on with us. At the end of it, you are going to get skill badges, but then also a certificate from UNICEF, YuWaah, and CBSE. For the person in the chatbot who in the chat box who was asking about certification at the end of the webinar, I'm not sure about that, but here is an opportunity for a certification if that is of interest to you. And these tasks are very short, like they take 20 minutes. They are activity based. You do have to cover some activity because you can only learn a skill by doing it. It's not like knowledge where you just read. You have to practice it to really build that skill. And therefore, it's interactive. You can do it at your own time. If you want to pause the activity, you can, and resume it the next day. That is one. The other one is, and I'm sorry, the slide is very text heavy, I realize. The other one, which is an upcoming solution of YuWaah, is a e-learning solution. It's going to be curating, think of Coursera and such, but it's going to be curating courses specifically to build 21st century skills. It is called Passport to Earning. In it, we're calling it YuWaah Skills. And it's going to have highly curated content from some of our partners. And it's going to be focused on project-based learning, but then also bite-sized information. So it's easy. Now, panning out, just coming to bring in what YuWaah is. So YuWaah has been incubated by UNICEF. And in India, Generation Unlimited has been incubated by UNICEF. And YuWaah is the Indian chapter of Generation Unlimited. We are a multi-stakeholder partnership platform. What that means is we work with a lot of partners who are working in the domains of economic opportunity, in skilling and learning, or youth leadership to really help enable young people to transition from education to productive work to active citizenship. So we really have the young person at the center, which is why we are inviting you to stay connected with us, to know about what all we can offer to you. Visit us at our website. You can also stay connected with us on social media. Yeah, I think I will wrap up on that note.
Fabulous, Radhika. I think maybe you can project that WhatsApp number once again so people can take it down, because I see a couple of people asking for that.
I can also just post it in the chat right after my session.
I think that'll be great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Radhika. This was super useful, and the activity was also great fun. It was an interactive session, and I'm sure our audience will go back very happy. I love the chatbot. We'll definitely try. It's been a pleasure to have you here. And once again, I would like to thank YuWaah UNICEF for collaborating with us and making this event big.
Great.
Our audience does have a few questions, but in the interest of time, it'll be great if we can email them to you and
That
gather your
sounds
thoughts,
fine.
and then we can circle back to our participants.